We got, all right, it's a woman's turn now. It's a young lady's turn. All right, this young lady right here. Go ahead.
First of all, I would like to say hello, Mr. President.
Hello. I'm not, but we got more work to do now.
Just the work. I just believe the work is going to happen. My question to you is that America used to be a country full of dreams. People came here and moved here to dream. What is your plan or plan of action to get us dreaming again instead of us concentrating on our struggles or how it's hard to make it? How can we begin to dream again so we can create the prosperous life we deserve to live?
You're absolutely right that one of the things about America has always been that we dream big dreams, not small dreams. Right? We always have a sense of optimism, even when times are tough. I think about my grandparents. They were born and grew up in the shadow of the Great Depression. So, they didn't have a lot of money. Then Pearl Harbor comes. My grandfather, he ends up going off to fight in Patton's army in World War II. My grandmother stays home. She's got a baby, but she's working on a bomber assembly line, helping the wartime effort. They saw tough times, but somehow they were able not only to defeat fascism, that greatest generation, but also lift themselves up out of a Great Depression, create the GI Bill that allowed veterans to come back and go to college, create the interstate highway system, end up sending a man to the moon. There was this sense of possibility, even in the face of hardship and in the face of struggle. And you're right, I think we've got to rediscover that kind of spirit. Now, it's interesting, that's part of what I think has driven our campaign, the sense of, yes, we can. I notice that when we talk about these aspirations, I tend to get criticized by my opponents and sometimes by the press. Oh, he's talking about hope again. He's a hope monger. The assumption is that if you talk about our aspirations, that you somehow must be naive. If you're a hard-headed realist, then you know that things are messed up and aren't going to change. And, Washington's always going to be corrupt, and there's nothing we can do about it. And, the rich are always going to not care about the poor. And that's sort of the philosophy that shows you're a real hard-headed, tough, cynical politician. But you know what? That's not how the American people feel. That's not what they think. They do think the system's broken, but they don't think it has to be broken. And the same cynics who said you can't fix Washington, those are the same cynics who said we couldn't win a Democratic Party nomination, that we couldn't win an election. But here's the one thing, though. In order to give people a dream, there does have to be some concrete steps that are taken, and we've got to acknowledge the problems that we have. So our young people, for example, it's one thing to tell them to dream, but if they're showing up to school already behind because they didn't get any good early childhood education, and they want to go to college, but they don't have a way to fund it, then that's going to crush people's dreams. And that's why it's so important that we use the next administration to help rebuild sort of the tools that people use to achieve their dreams. Again, Americans are going to work hard. They don't expect something for nothing. But what they do hope is that if they're able and willing to work, they can find a job that pays a living wage, that they're not bankrupt if they get sick, that they are able to go to college and get an education, that they're able to retire with dignity and respect. And most of all, I think they want to know that there's somebody in Washington that is fighting for them, that we've got a plan to help people achieve their dreams. And that's what we've been missing. That's what we've been missing in Washington. All right. It's a guy's turn. Guy over there. Settle down. Settle down now. You're going to hurt yourself. Go ahead. Right there in the orange cap. Oops. Let's see if it's working again.
Hello?
Yeah, there you go.
Good morning. My name is Spencer Roach, and I'm a recent graduate of this very high school that we're in.
All right.
I guess my basic question, first of all, my friend Kyle wanted to know if you could take a picture with us when we're done.
Oh, you're waiting for an answer?
Well, yeah.
You know, there are cameras in this audience, but if you squeeze up towards the front, maybe you guys can snap it real quick.
All right. And then second of all, earlier in your introduction speech, you mentioned the big oil companies and all these profits that they're making, and how they seem to be obscene. But my question basically is it really the best pragmatic solution to go after these companies when really, from what I've researched, their profit margins are relatively average compared to other industries such as the banking industry?
Well, no, listen, I think it's a good question. I think it's a legitimate question. You know, there was a reporter who asked me yesterday, do you think that the oil companies are morally culpable for their big profits? I said, no. They're out to make a profit like every other business. You can't. I don't blame the oil companies for trying to make a profit. I will say that if suddenly the product that you're making goes up by 100 or 150%, not through anything that you did, but just because of luck, or speculation, or the market goes haywire, then I do think that thinking about how can you provide relief to your customers in such a way that the economy is sustainable, I think that's a perfectly legitimate question. Look, I believe in business. And I believe in free enterprise. And I think that's what makes America great is our entrepreneurship and our free market values. But I also think our economy is out of balance, not just with respect to oil companies, with respect to the fact that Wall Street over the last decade did very well while Main Street didn't do well. And the question is, you know, what can we do to restore some sense of balance to our economy? John McCain, in his tax plan, wants to provide an additional $300 billion in tax cuts for corporations. At the same time as he's providing very little relief to the people sitting in this audience here today. And so the question becomes, you know, is that a responsible plan, particularly when you've got no way to pay for it? So we're taking out a credit card in your name and in the name of the other young people in this audience that is loading up our national debt to the point where right now every man, woman, and child owes about $30,000 in national debt. Well, somebody's got to pay for that. And so the question is, does it make more sense for the oil companies to pay for it, or does it make more sense for a struggling waitress who is barely getting by paying for it? And I'm going to fight for the waitress. Not because I dislike the oil companies, but because I think that's more fair. You know, that's just a different philosophy.